Okay, there are some rules for addition that we need to go over. This is section 2.3 in your notes, so if it would help you to write that, this is section 2.3, chapter 2, section 3. So there are a few rules for addition that are useful for us to know, and one of those is this. If the numbers have the same sign, then add the numbers and keep the sign. For example, here's what that means. If I have positive 5 plus positive 3, then when I add these two numbers, I add the numbers together. That would be 8, and I keep the sign. Both of them are positive, so obviously this would be positive 8. That's something you've done a lot. But what if they're negative? What if I have negative 5 minus 3? So once again, they have the same signs. Then I add the numbers together. Those two numbers added together would be 5 plus 3 is 8, but I keep the sign. So the sign here is negative. So obviously 5 and 3 is 8, but when I keep this negative symbol, this becomes negative 8. And that should make sense to you if I have a number line right here, and we'll say right here is 0. And we'll say this is negative 5. Then if I'm subtracting from negative 5, I'm going further to the left, right? So if I'm subtracting from negative 5, then this number is getting smaller, which means I'm going this direction. So I should be going, so I'm subtracting, so I should be going this direction 3. And if I count 1, 2, 3 from negative 5, then obviously this would be negative 6, that would be negative 7, and this would be negative 8. So that is where this comes from. This idea that when I am subtracting anything, I'm going to the left on a number line. This is a visual picture of what we're doing. And so the easy rule to remember is that I can just add the two numbers together and that becomes 8, but I keep the sign. That's when they have the same sign. Okay, well what about when they have the opposite sign? Then what you're going to do is you're going to find the difference meaning subtraction of the two numbers, and keep the sign of the number with the greater absolute value. Keep the sign of the number with the greater absolute value. So absolute value means the distance from 0. I don't really like memorizing these rules. I think it might be better for you just to kind of get some practice in and then see how it goes from there. So here's some practice. We're going to do the first few together, and then I'm actually going to have you do a good number of them on your own. Okay, so let's come down here. Okay, and what you should be saying is, okay, do they have the same sign or do they have the opposite signs? Here, these are both positive, so obviously 7 plus 5 is 12. Right? We add them together and we keep the sign. The sign is positive, so that's positive 12. Here, they're both negative. So once again, they have the same sign, so we add them together, and then we keep the sign. Adding 7 and 12 together gives you 12, and then the sign that they have is negative. Okay, so that becomes negative 12. Negative 7 plus negative 5 is the same as negative 7 minus 5. Those two things are the same. And so negative 7 minus 5 becomes negative 12. Okay, here they have the opposite sign. Okay, what you're going to do, what this rule means is that here, this is what you're going to do. You're going to subtract them because they have the opposite sign, and then you're going to keep the sign of the number that is bigger, right? So here clearly 7 is bigger, 7 is positive, so our number is going to be positive, and then 7 minus 5 is 2. And that should make sense to you because 7 plus negative 5 is the same as me writing 7 minus 5. Okay? So what I'm going to do is I take the difference of them, meaning I subtract them, and then I keep the sign of the biggest number, the greater absolute value. So here, 7, once again, 7 is obviously greater than 5. 7 is negative, so we know our answer is going to be negative. I take the difference between these two numbers. That's 7 minus 5, so that becomes negative 2. 7 minus 5 is 2. Okay? All right, here is another great practice problem. First thing you need to do, okay, they have the opposite sign, right? One's positive, one's negative. Which one is the bigger number? 9 is bigger. That's 9 sign is positive, so our answer is going to be positive. And then I subtract these from each other. 9 minus 4 is 5. So our answer here is going to be positive 5, right? And in addition to subtraction, remember, order doesn't matter. So I could easily rewrite this as positive 9 minus 4, and that should be easy for you to see that this answer is 5, right? So the order doesn't matter, and it's easy for you to see if 9 minus 4 is 5. The same is true as if we go backwards. If we do negative 4 plus 9, then that is also positive 5. Okay, here what do we have? Okay, we have there the same sign. So what is that sign? That sign is negative, so we know our answer is going to be negative. And when I add these two numbers together, 7 and 13, I get 20. So our answer here is negative 20. Okay, so as you can see, these problems get a little bit harder. We have just a couple, 7, 8, and 9. What I want you to do is I want you to try and go ahead and do these on your own. These are a little bit harder, right? So this is, I'm intentionally having you do this, and I would like you to try and do these harder problems on your own. And when we get to class, next time we have class, this is the first thing that we will go over.